I pushed open the front door and paused at the empty entryway, expecting Mom's warm embrace. Instead, I found her standing stock still, hand pressed over her mouth, tears pooling in her eyes. The vision board leaned behind her pages, torn from real estate flyers, one listing circled in thick red ink, Emily's name scrawled above it, my salary written beside hers in the same marker. The way the glue had dried in ridges was proof she'd crafted this message with her own hands. Behind her, Dad hovered by the staircase, arms folded, gaze fixed on the blank walls I'd painted myself. He didn't speak, but when I met his eyes, his lips pressed into a thin line that spoke volumes of disappointment. Emily slammed through the front gate. Moments later, breathless, phone in hand, she recited her group text aloud. Well, you got it, your very own house. No one to share it with. The buzz of replies that followed, laughing emojis and shocked comments echoed in the hallway, proof I'd already become a social spectacle. That night, my laptop pinged with an email titled Fairness Calculations. I opened the PDF to find Dad's spreadsheet, columns detailing every meal he'd paid for, emergency car repairs listed under my name, a row for each pop-up they'd covered on my behalf. At the bottom, in bolded type, the sentence, "Time you gave back," stared back at me. The precise alignment of the numbers, each cell perfectly bordered, showed me that their expectations were as meticulously planned as my purchase had been. I remembered how Emily had cornered me at my old apartment, pulling out her phone to show me saved threads of property tours, videos of carpeted living rooms she'd imagined us sharing. Scrolling through her gallery, I saw timestamps on each clip, proof she'd been plotting behind my back. When I gently refused to co-sign, her voice had cracked. "You said you'd never leave me with nothing." Her tears hadn't been enough to sway me. The logged call on my phone was proof I'd tried to reason, not to abandon. In the kitchen, Mom's vision board lay atop the counter. I picked up a stray piece of tape stuck to the edge, its sticky underside still tacky. That bit of craft supply residue was proof of her long hours spent orchestrating this confrontation. Outside, Emily's car idled, the engine's low growl, a constant reminder that she'd never missed an opportunity to stake her claim. I gathered the deed to my townhouse, its embossed seal, and notary's signature crisp against the paper, and set it beside Dad's spreadsheet. The juxtaposition of his demands and my proof of ownership sat silent on the table. In that moment, I realized no vision board or group text could erase the fact that this home was mine, secured with my credit history, bank statements, and the closing agent's stamped contract. The evidence lay there, her tears, his spreadsheet, the paperwork on my desk, all testament to the new chapter I was writing. Whether they approved or not, I still feel the jolt of Emily's dented fender, saw it myself when I walked down the driveway to find my car's bumper pushed inward, metal folded like tin. I dragged it to Dad's study, where his clipped reprimand sat on the coffee table, the school's incident report scrawled with driver's recklessness. 2 weeks later, I watched through the kitchen window as Dad handed Emily the keys to a gleaming hatchback, paper stamped, title transfer in hand, proof she'd been forgiven and rewarded, while I pedaled to classes with grease under my nails and a cracked tire slowing every hill. In college, I kept every scholarship award letter neatly tucked into my folder. Those envelopes lined the bulletin board above my desk, each bearing the dean's signature. Emily, meanwhile, breezed through her first semester with a family emergency loan notice slipped into her mail slot. I discovered years later that my own savings account statement had been rerouted. A series of transfers labeled FE loan repayment matched the exact amount of her tuition bills. Those bank records, stamped by our branch manager, were proof my future had quietly fueled hers. When I returned home that summer, the termite fumigation invoice came in the mail, my name typed under "paid by" on the pest control company's letterhead. Dad shrugged as he pointed to my job title on the receipt, saying it made sense since I was doing well. It hung on my fridge until I peeled it off and tucked it into my files, proof that I footed the bill to protect the family home. Not long after, Mom called to tell me Emily's phone had broken again. The co-pay authorization form arrived labeled "must sign immediately." I found my shaky signature beneath the words "upgrade fee" on the phone company's invoice, proof I'd been drafted into her care, funding a device I'd never requested for myself. A few months ago, I stumbled on a family WhatsApp chat titled "Support Emily's Dream." Scrolling through screenshots, I saw messages from aunts and uncles pledging funds for manicure tables, polish racks, even uniforms. My name was nowhere in the list of contributors. Yet when I opened the salon's marketing deck pulled from Emily's laptop, I saw a slide that read "Inspired by my name's creative vision." That PDF, dated by the file properties to the salon's launch week, stood as proof she'd claimed my encouragement without acknowledging the money others, not I, had supplied. Now I stacked those documents on my desk: the school incident report, the scholarship letters, the savings account transfers, the fumigation invoice, the phone copay form, and the salon pitch deck. Each bears its own stamp, school seal, bank watermark, pest control logo, phone company header, and digital timecode evidence that these stories weren't in my head, but recorded in ink and pixels. In every proof I hold, I see the pattern more clearly. Emily protected, me expected to absorb every cost. Holding this stack, I finally realized that my value lies not in how much I give, but in the life I'm building on my own terms. I pushed open my front door and stopped dead at the sight of half-open boxes spilling out of my guest room. Emily's sneakers perched on a stack of my folded towels, her favorite novels lined up on my bedside shelf. Mom hovered in the doorway, arms crossed. "It's not permanent," she repeated, as though rehearsed. Her sticky note labels, Emily's closet and bedroom setup still clung to the flaps of each box. The uneven remains of my winter duvet peeked from beneath her belongings, proof she'd moved in on my terms, not hers. Sliding my phone across the kitchen counter, I pointed at the new Wi-Fi name shimmering on the screen. "Home for all 5G. Dad," fiddling with the toaster, looked up with innocent eyes. "Don't make this about pride," he said, voice smooth as butter. Yet when I opened the router's admin page, his user account glowed in the access log, time-stamped, SSID, change. That line in the settings page, marked with his user ID, was living proof he'd repurposed my network without telling me. Later, I ducked into the living room to fetch my tea and nearly tripped over my niece, crouched over a shattered porcelain heirloom. The vase lay in pieces on the rug, its delicate floral pattern split in half. She held a jagged shard in her small hand, tears glistening on her cheeks. I scooped up the fragments and passed them to her, my voice firm as I asked Emily to apologize. Emily brushed past me and snapped, "She's just a kid. It's not like this is a real home anyway." The sharpness in her tone and the vase fragments in my hand were undeniable evidence that my family considered my space theirs to dismantle. That evening, as I reviewed my email, a message from HR flashed in bold: "Urgent employment verification request." Opening the PDF attachment, I saw a form stamped with the company's official logo and the heading "Mortgage Refinance." Under "Requested by," my mother's name was typed with her forged signature below. The email trail, complete with my HR rep's outbox record and their confirmation reply, "Verification complete," revealed that my parents had called my workplace to pry into my salary. Those corporate timestamps and letterhead were proof they'd dragged my career into their drama. I gathered all these proofs on the dining table: photographs of the guest room boxes complete with Mom's sticky note labels, a screenshot of the router's SSID setting showing Dad's user entry, a snapped image of the broken vase petals on the rug, and the HR form with Mom's name under "Requested by." Each file, saved as a time-stamped JPEG or PDF, bore its own seal of authenticity. Sticky taped labels from the hardware store, router logs exported from the admin console, glaze-flecked porcelain shards from the slipcast vase, and the HR department's official footer. They were concrete evidence that my home had been invaded, my network hijacked, my family keepsakes destroyed, and my professional boundaries breached. Closing my laptop, I felt the weight of every proof. This wasn't imagined hurt. It was recorded in pixels and paper. And now, holding this stack of undeniable truths, I knew these were the tools I would use to redraw the lines and finally reclaim the only sanctuary I'd ever built for myself. My phone chimed with impatient alerts, and when I unlocked it, there was Uncle Robert's screenshot of the family WhatsApp group. My mother's name hovered above the green bubble that read, "We gave her everything, and now she's pretending she's too good for us." Seeing her profile picture next to those words, her carefully curated selfie plastered above the exact message, was proof she'd weaponized our chat. Moments later, I scrolled through Facebook and found Emily's cryptic post pinned to her profile. "Some people only show love when they're winning, but we remember who cried with us, not who bought walls." It floated at the top of her feed, framed by dozens of sad face reactions and concerned comments from cousins and old classmates. The fact that her post lingered at the top, marked public, was proof she deliberately crafted this missive for maximum audience. My heart sank when my phone rang with Aunt Claire's name on the screen. Her voice quivered as she told me she'd heard I'd kicked Emily out during an asthma attack. I paused the conversation and opened my work portal to my latest shift logs. My screen showed me admitting a patient with severe breathing distress at the exact hour she alleged I'd turned Emily out. That logged entry, my own name stamped beneath the patient's record, was living proof Aunt Claire's rumor didn't match reality. Later that day, a crisp envelope from my niece's school slipped under my door. The letter inside, printed on the school's official letterhead, requested updated emergency contact information. My name was listed boldly as her primary contact, even though I'd never submitted a single form. A scribbled note at the bottom, removed per guardian's request, told me Emily had listed then delisted me to make me look ungrateful. That signed approval from her guardian, scanned and archived in the school's secure system, was proof of her covert manipulation. By evening, concerned friends pinged me with screenshots of a private group chat on Messenger. Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years were riffing on my abandonment issue, each name and avatar visible in the screenshot collage. The label forwarded flickered above Tammy's post where someone claimed I'd turned my back on family for a mortgage. That forwarded status, stamped into the image, proved they'd launched a quiet smear campaign behind my back. I sat at my desk, gathering these pieces of evidence. Uncle Robert's WhatsApp image complete with Mom's profile icon, Emily's Facebook post marked pinned, the hospital admission record bearing my name, the school letter on official stationery, and the Messenger group chat screenshot flagged as forwarded. Each file was stamped with unique identifiers, profile pictures, official headers, system logs that confirmed these events were documented, fact, not gossip. Holding each proof in my hand, I understood they'd twisted our story to paint me as the villain. Now armed with their own words and records, I had the power to reveal the truth they worked so hard to conceal. I stepped into the softly lit dining room, and froze. Every seat around the table was already claimed by aunts, uncles, and cousins, their forks poised mid-air. I spotted Aunt Marisol clutching her phone, the flashlight reflecting off the screen as she swiped through a group chat screenshot, my name pinned beneath the words, "We've all been worried about how you're handling success." That exact phrasing, pinned at the top of her chat window, was proof they'd set this moment up. Before I could greet them, Cousin Victor rose and cleared his throat. He held up his phone displaying a forwarded text from last night. "We need to talk about her priorities." His finger traced the timestamp, and I recognized the group icon of Mom's profile, proof they'd rehearsed this opening line. Dad clicked the remote and the wall lit up with a spreadsheet titled Family Impact Ledger. On screen, a row showed Emily's counselor invoices, each PDF file name ending in tot. Next to it, my bank transfer confirmations to the utility company and the plumber's emailed receipt. Maria, my sister, whispered, "Look, it's all here." The ledger's columns were drawn from their own records. Proof their data matched mine. Dad stepped forward with a leather-bound binder and slid it across the table. I opened to the first page, a printout of my townhouse deed, complete with a county clerk's embossed seal. Beneath it, a proposed amendment scroll read, "Transfer 20% ownership to family trust for collective benefit." In the margin, Mom's lawyer had scrawled ensures preservation of family legacy. That attorney's handwriting, nearly identical to the signature on Emily's salon lease, was proof they intended to seize my property. When they asked if I'd sign, I looked at the binder's polished edges and thought of my quiet mornings over coffee in that living room. I thanked them for coming together, closed the binder, and walked away. My steps echoing on the tile, proof I refused to bargain my home. The next morning, my phone buzzed with an email from Sonny Kev, Luke's Care Ministries. Its subject line read, "Prayer request for my name," and the body listed my parents' names under submitted by. Scrolling down, I saw their explanation. "We've watched her drift since moving into her new home." The church's official letterhead, and the fact that the email was carbon copied to every deacon, were proof they'd extended their ambush into spiritual warfare. At my kitchen table, I pulled out my wedding gift photo album, Mom's gift, after all these years, and placed beside it the screenshot of Aunt Marisol's group chat, the ledger printout bearing Emily's invoices, the deed amendment draft stamped with that seal, and the church email on official stationery. Each item bore its own authentication profile icons, spreadsheet columns drawn from their emails, the fine lettering of county documents, and the embossed letterhead of the ministry. They were tangible proof that what looked like a family dinner was a coordinated assault on my boundaries, property, and faith. Now, with those same proofs in hand, I knew how to reclaim the narrative they'd so carefully scripted. I stopped chasing apologies and started placing tiny dome cameras under the eaves and by the back door. One evening, I watched the infrared footage of my mother slipping in with her spare key, her jacket brushing the threshold before she hesitated and turned away. I exported that clip and saved the app's motion alert, her figure frozen at the gate, timestamp glowing in green, proof she'd tested my boundaries. Next, I drafted a cease and desist letter on my lawyer's firm letterhead, recounting each trespass. The morning Emily crept in through the unlocked glass door, leaving boot prints on my kitchen tile, and the day Dad let himself in, humming as he flicked the hall light switch. I attached still frames from the security feed and mailed it with a certified slip showing the post office stamp and Mom's signature on the delivery receipt, undeniable proof they'd received my warning. In my therapist's cozy office, draped with muted tapestries, I handed over my journal. She read aloud the entry, where I described waking at dawn to soothe Mom's tears, then bracing myself to pay another surprise bill for their vanished heating oil. With a slow nod, she underlined emotional parentification in her notes, and traced her pen over inverted boundaries, proof that the patterns I'd lived were real and named at last. One evening, I found myself in a circle of strangers at the local community center, each clutching a worn pamphlet titled, Only Child Club. When I introduced myself, I spoke of building walls around my house that mirrored the walls I'd built around my heart. The facilitator's head tilt and the sticky note she handed me reading, "Welcome, you belong here," were proof I'd found a place where my solitude made sense. Holding a fresh cup of tea, I converted the spare room into a studio. I cleared out folded guest linens and rolled out a drafting table beneath the skylight. On its surface, I placed my watercolor set and a stack of canvases, proof I'd claimed the room for creation, not convenience. I bought a small brass plaque from the hardware shop etched "Occupied. By permission only." When I fitted it to the doorframe, the clicking of the last screw was my final proof I owned this space for myself. Now, stepping back into my living room, I pass the security monitor and see the calm boundary lines I've drawn. My mailbox holds no more letters begging for entry, just the soft glow of my computer screen and the brass plaque's reflection in the hallway. The camera logs, certified mail slip, therapist's underlined notes, support group pamphlet, and that engraved plaque, each piece is proof I stopped arguing and started protecting. In doing so, I didn't change them, I changed how I respond, and in that shift I reclaimed not just my home, but my freedom.